Right, welcome back to another episode of Into the Valley. Today we will be discussing Charlton's 1-0 loss at the Valley against Leicester. Really tough one to take.
I think there's not going to be too many games this season where we'll get the loss and still be really content with the performance. I think that's exactly how 99% of the fan base will feel after that game. It was gutting because we put in such a good performance, created enough chances to draw at an absolute bare minimum and probably win the game. Tough one to take.
Yeah, I think it was one of those that I think if you had have asked many fans coming into the game, it was mainly probably about the performance. I think there was a thinking that there was a team there for the taking. I think their start to the season. I did feel there definitely was a chance for Charlton there, and I thought strangely enough, we took it with both hands, and on another day, we could have walked away 2-3-0. I think we learnt some pretty good lessons out of the game as well.
Yeah.
I think there was frustrating that we didn't take all 3 points, but just so many positives to take.
Really encouraging, and I also think that it puts us in great stead for the rest of the season if we can perform that way against a team that are easily tipped to for top six, a bare minimum, and they're looking probably to push for the top two. To put in a performance like that and feel gutted that we didn't get a result, albeit at the Valley, but even so. We can take great sort of encouragement from that. 100%.
No, definitely. So I think, like normal, we'll look over the game then. So I think start off first half. I thought, to be fair, like most of the game, they seemed to be really struggling with the press from our side. I think that's one thing we were doing so well. They seemed pretty slow, pretty lethargic on the ball, and I think we just took full advantage. They played into all of our strengths. We have created very little, albeit we defended anything we did have very well. And it just felt like we were just, I suppose, slowly knocking at the door. Maybe a little bit better in kind of final third, and I think that was probably something that went over the whole game. Yeah,
I think as well, obviously the big chance in the first half came from Coventry with that absolute rocket from about 35, 40 yards out, and other than an absolute worldie save from the keeper, we would have gone into that first half hopefully 1-0 up, which changes the dynamic of the game, and we probably would have pushed on from there. But yeah, like you say, I think it was sort of a bit of another one of those ones where it was a bit back and forward. Neither team had massive chances in that first half. Ours was definitely obviously Coventry's effort from distance. But we worked really hard, and like you say, the high press was causing Leicester a lot of problems. And I think that's something that we will have as an identity for the whole season. Will be that we have that high press, and that will hopefully then sort of put their defences up against it, and then really sort of have to play their way out. So.
And I kind of feel like with Coventry, I'm not sure if he's been listening to the pod, because I've been really quite critical of his technical side of the game, and he caught that ball so nicely.
Weirdly, I think all game he probably had one of his best games, and weirdly he also had one of those games where he had quite a few chances as well, where he was putting himself in positions. He had the one at obviously we'll go on to, but where he sort of the ball sort of squirmed across the box and he couldn't quite get his foot to it, but. Really good performance from him. But that first half was definitely one that was. I'd say we were probably on top in that first half. I think IU had like a shot that sort of went just past the post.
But once again, even with that chance, we did what we've done this season so well, which is we held him out, and it was kind of a pop shot that he dragged. It was a dangerous shot to a certain extent, but I didn't.
Wasn't dangerous.
It wasn't danger in the keeper, and I thought in that first half as well, the space that Carey's role he was playing in the game was really impressive. I thought he was finding that pocket kind of between the midfield and striker, and when he was picking up the ball, that was causing then a player to press out. He could get the ball out to Apter, and I thought, for me, that is something that's, as I say, we said it last week, we said it the week before, it's something that's really been missing from the Charlton team, and I think to have now, that was probably one of the better attacking performances we've had under Nathan Jones.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think it's maybe a sign of when he's talked about fluidity, when he's talked about all that side, the kind of thing that he is looking for.
Yeah, and I also think the two midfielders, weirdly, that we talked about last week as well, Doherty and Coventry, both looked a little bit more of an attacking threat in that game. You even had, obviously, Doherty's chance in the second half that got a brilliant block in from their centre-back. But even he was pushing on and looking to fire off shots and looking a lot more sort of forward-thinking, I would say, in that game. And that's probably because we were on top of the game, so they were able to push forward.
And talking of the first half, I mean, probably the main part pre-game was to see the starting lineup, and obviously Leeburn coming in for Kelman.
You called it. It's a nice call from you. I think it made a lot of sense. I think I read as well that apparently he'd been playing unbelievably in training. So that on top of a few really strong sort of substitute appearances made sense. Plus Kelman has not struggled, but he hasn't quite bedded in as quickly maybe as some had hoped.
No, and sometimes when a player is getting the fitness, you're looking at their confidence, etc. And you have got a player who, of all the games he's played this season, we said before how on it he looks, and as you say, training, all of that kind of side, it seemed like the right decision. And I also think as well, in a game where clearly we were maybe looking to get that wide play and have that physical presence in as well, I think that was really, really important. And I thought he had a really good game, and especially that first half. I thought we'll go on, obviously, kind of covering the second half, but I thought in the first half, with all of his energy, I thought he looked really good.
Yeah,
I thought he looked quite dangerous.
Well, also they have Vestergaard at centre back, who's a big unit as well. So Jones would have had one eye on that. They needed someone that could come up against him and battle with him, which Liebman did actually really well. So,
and I think as the half went on, I felt as soon as that kind of first half ended, I was sitting there watching the game thinking, okay, this is our sort of take-in, and I think that probably takes us quite nicely into the second half, where I think we carried on really from where we left off. I think early on in that second half, we had the Lloyd Jones header, which I think it was Chowdhury maybe. Just got a touch to put it wide, and then I think it might have even been from the next corner a few minutes later. You had the Ramsey header as well.
Yeah.
And we just...
Well, half the crowd thought that was in at the time. Because it was so low down, the keeper did incredibly well to get to it. We had the bulk of the big chances, but obviously Leicester then went and got their brilliant goal, to be fair.
It was, and I think every Charlton fan comes away from that game incredibly proud of the performance, but it highlights we're not in League One anymore. We are playing against potentially Premier League players or Premier League players.
he played in the Premier last season, and from what I understand, like, he's one of their most dangerous players still. They'll do really well to hold on to their sort of those attacking players that have got that extra quality. And we knew as well, coming up against a team like Leicester, that they would have some of those sort of types of players that can really pull something out of the bag, especially when they're struggling a little bit. And that's maybe where the difference was in that game, was they had a few more experienced, higher level players that could have that just extra bit of flair to get a goal.
I think so. But I think even once the goal did go in,
we're still on top, weren't we?
Yeah, they had a little kind of spell where you thought, okay, we've got to now attack this game. And in all honesty, apart from 5 minutes after the goal went in, we started pressing them again. And we had some really good chances from there. I mean, you had the TC, arguably.
Yeah, the header.
You'd hope he does better, but at the same
he's
time...
not really the player you'd want on the end of a header, is he?
No. So I think you can... Albeit, I think any professional footballer should be able to maybe get that on target. But, I thought just from there, as I say, we just kept pressing, but it just wasn't...
Yeah, I don't know about you, but even when that goal went in, I was like, okay, they've scored a great goal, but I still felt that we could get back into the game. And the way the pattern of the game went, as soon as they scored, we were right back up their end, and putting a lot of pressure on their back line, getting really good chances. So I wasn't as gutted as I might have been if we weren't playing well. So I still felt we could go on to get something, and then obviously we created so many chances we just couldn't quite get.
And I think another day, the fact they scored a screamer, we had all the chances, and we just could. It was just one of those days. It really was a definition where, as you say, I think on another day, their one doesn't hit the back of the net. We do get one of our chances. I mean, you had the Doherty shot that was blocked. There was so many
bodies on the line. They had their keeper played out his skin. Well, he got man of the match. So that just tells you everything you need to know.
I think that's the main takeaway, really, isn't it? When you're goalkeeper, and I think last week, I'm pretty sure the Bristol City keeper got man.
Yeah, may well have done too.
Or he was very highly rated. Yeah. So I think you look at it and you think, okay, now we are this solid defensive unit who, as we've said before, if we're keeping them to pop shots and we are keeping them to having to score better goals than just breaking us down, there will be the occasional ones that go in.
Also, I had a quick look over the table yesterday. And again, it's us and Middlesbrough, the only two teams to concede one goal. Over 3 matches. Every other team has conceded quite a few more. So again, we're going from that really solid base, and it's going to take something special like what happened in the game at the weekend to break us down and to actually sort of penetrate that back line.
Well, and also that is against, I mean, Watford maybe not so much, but Bristol City away and Leicester, who were in the Prem last year in the third game. So I think overall, it's one that we've got to take a lot of as I say, there is definitely learning curves in there and there is lessons, but I think we've got to take a lot of pride in the performance. And if that is how we're going to play for the rest of the season, in my opinion, relegation-wise, I don't think we've got any concerns. And we might see ourselves having, once stuff starts to click in a bit better, we might see ourselves having a better season than most fans think. Yeah,
and that's it. And I think you build a foundation quite early on in the season, and if you can get off to a good start... we said as well in the previous episode, if we lost that game against Leicester, it wouldn't be the end of the world, and it's not. It's not the end of the world. The sort of slightly disappointing part to it is that we deserved a lot more than what we got. But then look, that is
the season. So, the realistic side is, as we go through the season as well, there will be games that we we take points when we don't deserve it. So I think it's mainly at this stage. I think so early on with so many new signings, to see the team gelling as well as they are is really impressive. And I think that for me is probably the biggest takeaway and where I get quite a lot of excitement. Yeah. And I think there is some parts of the squad that I think it has highlighted do need a bit more investment. But as I say, Rome wasn't built in a day.
No, you have to do it. And I think, to be fair, the signings that have come in have already shown the direction that they want the club to go in. And there's not, like I said before, there's not many games that we're going to lose and I'm going to go away from it thinking I'll take it, because we were just unlucky in the end of the day.
So I think as usual, this will be the point where we now go into the starting 11 and we'll go through player by player. And I think this will have some quite interesting ones in this game, because I think there was some pretty good talking points. Start off again, and it's I feel like we're on Groundhog Day with this one. Kaminsky,
like you said, Groundhog Day. I mean, apart from letting a goal in that was in the very postage stamp of the top corner of the net, nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. He was still commanding. He still made some solid saves, and he's still a safe pair of hands, in my opinion. Like, he's going to be an asset to us for the rest of the season.
100%. And I think it's the third game in a row, and I might be wrong on this game, but I'm pretty sure it is, where he's had one save in every game.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes it very difficult to be able to judge, but you can get, as I say, a confidence from just how he's claiming the ball. I think everything towards him, for once, goalkeeper isn't a conversation point. No. I think I feel pretty confident, and as I say, very, very difficult to judge, but also very difficult to really say too much about.
Yeah, like, he's not put a foot wrong in all three, to be fair.
So, Amari Bell?
Yeah, again, I still think he had another solid game. He had a couple of times was sort of pushing on down that side a little bit more than maybe he has in the last couple of games, like actually getting more up the pitch, which was quite nice to see. And again, he's displaying that he's quite athletic, quite quick, still got a good pass on him, quite composed as well. So defensively and going forwards, I'm still really pleased with the way he plays.
Yeah, and I thought he had a good game. I thought there was other standout defenders, but I thought overall he had a really good game. He's shown why he is that experienced head. And as you said, I thought probably quite a few players actually in the whole team where it was a much more attacking performance. And when we did get on top of the game, we really went at them, and that seemed to go from defence to attack.
Yeah, and we saw it definitely down the wings as well.
Yeah. So, Kane Ramsey, once again, I think he probably had a quieter game than maybe the one before. There wasn't as much, but he just showed all his traits again. Really good, really athletic.
Yeah.
As I say, he had nowhere near as much to deal with as the Bristol City game, but he just does what he does so well.
And again, he's another one that is just a really solid defender, but also can do the other part of the game where he's getting forwards. He's again overlapping. Many times he was on that outside overlapping, ready for that little pass through.
Well, I noticed at centre back he was like he'd look for the pass, and then the defender would just let him, or whoever it was, would just kind of leave a bit of space, and he just pushes through. And he's so athletic.
It's when they do that, you see it all the time in pretty much every game, where the back 3 or 4 are pinging it about at the back. But once they're looking for that initial outlet, he's usually the first one on that right hand side to then push it up the pitch.
I've noticed even when he sometimes does push on, and he goes to these kind of
little runs.
Yeah, but even when he loses it, he seems to like get it.
Yeah. Well, he'll recover.
Goes really like dogged on it, doesn't he? Yeah. He almost got it back, and then would flick it out wide to one of the wingers, and he's just
a nuisance, isn't he?
Yeah.
Even like you say, even when he loses the ball, he's a little terrier. He'll nick in there, and he's quick enough to recover. So you don't ever feel too much of a threat. If he loses the ball, he's going to come back. So
and I think you have it as well with him being a converted right back in centre back. He has that side of his game, which, as I say, makes him a real danger. So, so next we will talk about Lloyd Jones.
Yeah, I saw, because obviously the game was on Sky. It was the main event on Sky on the weekend. They showed a little highlight reel of him after the game, and it was just highlights again of him winning headers, going through people, harassing people, getting right up close to Ayew, who's a player that is dangerous and likes to back in, but he actually made Ayew's day really, really difficult. He was straight on him every time. The ref gave a few fouls where he nudged into him and things like that, but even when you're doing that, you're stopping them from getting forward. So again, it is another game where he is just a complete force at the back, that real centre point of our defence.
I thought absolutely immense. Once again, another player who was that one of his best games in a Charlton shirt. Yes, I think it arguably was. I think he does what he does best. He wins absolutely everything in the air. And I don't know if you looked in even in the Championship across the whole league, he'd be in that.
He's one of the best centre backs in. He's gone up a division, but he's still, I would argue, he's one of the best centre backs in that league.
I think he is definitely at what he does.
Yeah,
and I think there probably is better ball playing defenders, and there will be better technical defenders, but I think for that kind of clearing it out headers, the dangers he also brings on that side, because he doesn't only win defensive headers, he had
attacking.
I mean, he had the goal that was disallowed, which I think we are going to discuss a little bit more later on, but we had the goal that was disallowed, we had the header that Chowdhury kind of nicked off to the side. He had knockdowns, he had everything, and he just causes such chaos. So on the attacking and defensive threat,
it's both sides of the game. Yeah.
And I just hope he can, because I think he is going to be a really integral part to our season. And although we've got backup, I don't think there is anyone who can replace what he brings on that side. And I hope he can.
I think when you look back at the end of the season and they do, they show like who's won the most headers in defence and things, who'd be like right up there. He's so good in the air.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
So moving on, Josh Edwards.
Yeah. Again, just really solid. And apart from the goal, which I don't think he could have done much more to defend, he showed the man. He backed off him a little bit, but he still, even when Fatawu took the shot on, if you look at it, he just nicked in and he almost got onto the ball.
He pretty much hit it at the only
time he could
get round Edwards and hit the top corner that he could. I don't think there was any bad defending, and I actually thought for Edwards personally, I thought it was probably the best of his 3 games.
Well,
I really liked him in this game, and I thought
Fatawu is probably one of the hardest attacking, like quick players he's going to come up against in that league. Like he is going to be one of the best wingers that he's going to.
And he kept him relatively quiet. And that moment,
won the ball off him quite a few times.
Yeah, exactly. That moment, what could I mean? It is a moment where you say, "What can you do?" And you almost just applaud it and go, "Yeah, fair play."
I think that's the thing. Again, the fans, when that goal went in, the fans weren't saying, "Oh, that's awful defending." That's a goal that you just have to take your hat off to and say, "Fair play." And like I say, Jones, Edwards couldn't have done any more there. Really, I don't think Nathan Jones wouldn't have been hammering him saying you needed to get closer to him. I don't think you could have.
Well, and as I say, I think the whole defensive unit, I don't have any negatives because a team that has that amount of talent in it, we kept them quiet. If it wasn't for that, realistically, they didn't have that many clear-cut chances, and we kept them to a pretty bare minimum. The game opened up a little bit more towards the end, which does naturally, but even then, we were covering back. The running and everything on there was just...
Well, the game got a bit more stretched towards the end, didn't it? Where we were really trying to get that equaliser. So when they got the ball back,
that's because we've got every time a cross going in, we've got Jones in
the
box to try and win down flick-ons and all that kind of stuff.
Which he does.
It's going to happen. So, central midfield, I think this is a position that both players kind of shone through. We'll start Connor Coventry. I thought, once again, had a really, really good game. Probably one of his better ones I've seen, because I think, as you say, it was that blend of his defensive game, which he absolutely nailed on against, once again, some really, really tough players. But his technical side of the game and the attacking side was incredible. And that, as I say, I could watch that shot. I think I've watched that shot so many times.
It's how he sort of slices across it, and it is just literally turning more and more towards the top corner.
It's the kind of one, if it goes in, it's in like a highlight reel for quite a few years.
Yeah, that's like a filthy goal.
Yeah.
But like you say, it wasn't just that effort, which was obviously a cracker. He pushed on a lot more in that game, and I think he was looking to push on and nick a goal, which is nice to see, because he's obviously more of a defensive midfielder. We've praised him so many times for the way he wins the ball back. He's dogged. But now to see those sort of players in a game that really could have been really tough to get forwards, he's pushing on and he's trying to sort of add that attacking element to his game, which was really, really good to see.
And he seems to have a corner that has a magnet attached to Lloyd Jones' head.
Normally
Payne Ramsey's head. It seems to be, I'm sure it's one that will get picked up, but it seems almost unstoppable. I mean, the amount, I think we had 13 corners in the game, but we had some of our best chances from that. And I think it's a really good, and you see it. I mean, you see it in the Premier League with Arsenal, for example. It is such
a weapon,
such an important weapon, because at the end of the day, you can have a pretty tough game. If you can get a goal from a corner, you can get a goal from a free kick, any set pieces really, you'll get points on days where you're not quite on form.
Well, it seems to be that we're, a lot of the time with our corners, we're trying to almost get it over to the back stick, header it back across, which you saw a couple of times. You obviously saw the one with Jones where he actually scored, and there was the ref gave a foul in the box, but we're either going right towards the back stick and headering it across, or we're getting it deeper into the box, and then either Jones or a few of the bigger guys are getting on the end of it. So, yeah, it's encouraging that we've got a really good distributor from corners now as well to create more chances. And I think we'll get quite a few goals from corners, which we haven't necessarily had for at least a few years. Last year was better, but yeah.
So then moving to the next centre mid, Doherty.
Yeah, we've spoken about him and we've questioned whether he can step up. He's had a couple of semi sort of shaky games. I definitely think this game highlighted that he is capable of playing at that level and performing to a higher level as well. I was really impressed.
And I think you do think, does the squad depth we now have, and the talk we were saying last week of potentially a Carey dropping in, potentially whatever it might be, that depth is going to maybe make him look at how he's playing and up that level. And I thought, I mean, defensively, I thought brilliant. I thought he showed that attacking side a lot better. You're never going to get from him the most technically gifted part.
No.
So I think he's got a good shot on him. He could potentially whack one in from anywhere. But he just showed a lot of what I think he needed to, and a lot of what Charlton fans, I think, know he is capable of, but doesn't show enough.
I think what it was he also showed was leadership, and he's the captain, and there's a reason Jones has picked him as captain, and a lot of people have questioned whether Jones should be captain, and I think Jones would make a brilliant captain, to be fair. But you could see in that game why Doherty has that captain's armband. He is that player that sort of, when he's playing at his best, He pushes the team on. He is definitely is a leader. He talks a lot, but also he's got that ability to really show the team that he is a really hard worker, and that then is infectious towards everyone else. That everyone else wants to work harder.
When you saw it in the second half, there was actually a great example of it where he was pushing the team up the pitch.
Yeah.
He was screaming at players on a throw-in, pretty nothing throw-in, right in the Leicester half, and it was like, push up, we want this ball up here. And I think maybe that is the side of the game, especially when it comes to captaincy, where you don't have to be the absolute best player on the pitch.
No.
Sometimes that leadership will, change games.
It rubs off on others.
Yeah,
100%.
I think I saw that the most I have in this game, and it did. Look, don't get me wrong, it doesn't completely change my opinion towards Doherty, and I still think there is bits that I do look at long term that I'm not sure about, but I think he did himself no harm in that game, and to me changed a few thoughts I had towards him. But he has to carry that on.
Yeah.
We have to see this Doherty.
But what he has shown is that he has the ability and the commitment to sort of really nail down that position. And he's definitely sort of proven a few critics wrong in that particular game. Like you said, he's got to keep showing that. But I was really pleased with how he played, actually.
Yeah. So I think now we'll go on to the kind of attacking side of the game. So first of all, Sonny Carey.
Yeah, Carey again is showing his worth. Like, since we brought him in, he's been that player that's, again, he's one that really loves to get forward. I can tell that in his game. He's really one of those players that likes to try and create chances. Had another really good game. He sits in that sort of pocket, so he gets quite a bit of the ball, which is good. And then when we're pushing up the pitch, he's usually always involved in those sort of high quality chances. Again, his relationship, we've talked about it already, but his relationship with Apter, where he's sort of stringing passes through. I've been really pleased. And again, he had another really good game.
Yeah, and I thought it was a game where he was allowed more space probably in this game than he has been in others. And I think that attacking side, especially in the first half, I thought we saw it more. But I thought he was finding those pockets of space, picking up the ball, driving runs, which were then causing defenders to come to him. He could then lay it out to Apter, he could carry on running, whatever it was, but he was causing a lot of nuisance, and I think that probably dropped off a little bit more in the second half, and I think we went for a more direct wing play, kind of game, but I thought he had a really solid game, and I think he will. It's still very early days in his Charlton career, and I think we are only seeing the initial side of what he offers. And I think he'll slot into teams.
Even the game of the weekend, like, he had a couple of half chances where if he'd have connected with him, he had one where he put his foot right through it. It was going on target. I think a block in the end. But he's going to get more and more chances. He's going to score some goals as well because he's going to get into those positions. So a matter of time before he scores for us. But he's showing some really positive signs. Yeah, I'm really pleased, actually.
No, definitely. And I think he's carrying on that kind of performances of what we've seen so far. So I think probably interesting ones going on to these ones now. So Rob Apter.
Again, he's just showing why he was brought in my opinion. My biggest thing with him is every single cross I've seen him put into the box has been incredibly good. To the point where we're not used to that, that sort of quality delivery. It's always with pace, sort of whip on it, in really dangerous positions. And again, he's giving our strikers so many opportunities to get on the end of things, which is really great. And then he's just really, really dangerous, sort of taking his men on. I wouldn't want to defend against him.
No, and I think he's similar to Sonny Carey. I thought he probably had better game and I think was a little bit more dangerous last week, but I still thought this week you just feel he is that player who can kind of create something out of nothing. He's a nuisance, he'll drag players out of position, and I think he was once again a really integral part to especially the first half side of things, of causing that kind of chaos and difficulty. And he's always kind of available. He's not also afraid to run in behind, he's not afraid to drop a bit short if it's not quite working. He kind of just seems to be that live wire who wants to get the ball, wants to make something happen. And as I say, in regards to actual kind of game, there was some pretty positives. It wasn't a game full of chances for him, but he just had a really solid game again.
Putting some dangerous crosses in, and also because we are so solid at the back now, and he's got the cover of Ramsey on the right hand side of the defence. he is allowed to be completely attack-minded, and that's the sort of player he is. You can tell he lives for just running at people, creating chances, and he, again, is going to have so many where he drills it across or whips it in, and people are going to get on the end of it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time before he starts getting loads of assists, in my opinion, because he's just... And goals as well. Cause he's gonna...
And I think that is probably something that's quite important to this whole attacking line, because I think as much as I've got a lot of positives towards the attacking line, and the games we've had aren't going to be necessarily really high scoring, but I do think this whole attacking setup are going to have to start clicking when it comes to goals and kind of creating. We are creating the chances, and I think today maybe we were a bit more unlucky, but I saw in his interview he was kind of relatively admitting of that at some point that attacking side of it, they have got to start turning those chances into a few more goals, being a bit more clinical, and I think that comes from probably everyone in the squad, but especially that kind of attacking quartet of your kind of...
We also, like you said as well, though, before, we have to obviously acknowledge that we've played some pretty solid sides already. And we're going to come up against, well, we've got QPR coming up next. They've just been hit 7-1. I'm not saying we're going to batter them, and we're away from home, so it's not going to be easy. But that's a team that's maybe a level below maybe a couple of the teams we've come up against so far. So that one's going to be really interesting.
I think that's where, especially with some of these players, that's where I think that's... I think it will make a difference, and I think it is where we might start to see that.
It's also teams that are a bit more fragile, both in the sort of level of player that we're coming up against, but also in the form they're in as well, like QPR. Obviously,
I can't wait for that game. I think
it's always a good game anyway.
It is, and I think it will be a tough one, but I think it's going to be a real good one, a real good shower for where we actually are, because I think the games so far, as I say, they have been really tight. They've been against really tough opposition. I think
it's the first game we're coming off the back of a loss. So how do we respond?
Which historically, last season especially, we seemed to lose one. Weirdly, we had that run, didn't we, last year, where we kind of lost one like 4-1, and then we're going like 5 or 6 winning streaks. So, fingers crossed. Tyrese Campbell.
So, an interesting one. Again, he's one that we spoke about, whether he's sort of bringing himself up to the level of the Championship from coming up to League One. Probably another one of those games where you could question whether he is fully ready, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't know if fully ready is the word, but whether he struggles at times when he comes up against those really top-end sides or in the bigger games, which I would class Leicester as one of the bigger games we're going to have this year. A few moments where he gets out-muscled or he can't quite work out where he needs to go down the wing and things like that. But what's your thoughts?
I don't think it's necessarily whether he's kind of up to speed with it. I think there is question marks over TC, and I think with him, he is young. My question marks come over, and I think only time will tell. I really think there could be a player there. I do worry about the technical side sometimes, and like yesterday, I sometimes see him running with the ball, and the fact he's got that like burst of pace and that danger, and that definitely drags people out and into the right positions and will cause a bit of chaos. But now, especially he's coming up against better defenders, that side of when he's dribbling the ball, he sometimes he almost like runs quicker than the ball, and the technical side
almost runs over the ball.
It does concern me, and I think I think it maybe comes further than is he adapting to the Championship yet? And I think the long-term question, I think is why it's such a big season for him, is he a Championship player? And I have to admit, I love him to pieces, because like any academy product, you want him to do well.
Yeah.
I think there is question marks over whether he is long-term, and I think this season we will really see.
You know what's highlighting it a little bit for me is Apta's a similar age. He's still and he's come up from the same level. Played probably like a full season, couple of seasons in League One. He is one, though, if you compare him, and they are very similar types of players, they're the ones that run at people, cross the ball in. He already looks a little bit like a level above Campbell, and now that's not to say that Campbell can't get up to that level.
Yeah.
But he is someone that I could see in Charlton for a long period of time if we can keep hold of him, because he's already looking really good. Whereas Campbell's the one that I look at and I think you've definitely got areas to improve.
Yeah, and could you see after a year, could you see us looking next summer and going, okay, that's a position we've got to upgrade? And at the moment, I think I do sit on that side. I think he shows glimpses, say, in the Bristol City game, first half. I thought he was running quite well at the players, and he does I say, was making some quite good decision making, but just consistency of doing that. It's all well and good. There's so many players who can have a few good games.
Yeah.
I think consistently doing it week in, week out. And I don't think we can afford in the Championship to have a player who blows
hot and cold.
Well, hot and cold, but probably more cold than hot. And I think
Yeah.
those odd games where he does turn up. I say this season, he could prove us all wrong.
But also the fans are willing him on. Like, we want him to do well. And I think he has the full backing of the fans love him. Like, he had a great season last year. The only question mark over him is, can he keep up the level that he needs to in that division? To be fair, if he doesn't, then Jones will have to then start looking at, okay, is he going to have to be rotated out of the squad? And that could happen.
And I think Jones really likes him, but won't be afraid to make hard decisions over the summer. Yeah. So I think the question I would always come down to, and it's an interesting one to see what you would think on this. You talk about Apter earlier. If TC was a new signing this year and putting in the performances he has for the first 3 games, what would your thoughts be on him taking off he's an academy product, we want him to do well? What would your thoughts be? And I think most Charlton fans, if you take that hat off, probably would say it's not quite been good enough. He is young, he has potential, but it's not quite good enough at the moment.
And I'm able to sit back and praise Apter to the hilt because I feel like he deserves it. He's put in already 3 really, really exciting performances, and he hasn't really done anything wrong. Whereas Campbell, you're saying, okay, he's had moments in games where he's been really quite exciting, but he has those other moments where you question, okay, has he got that quality to beat his man? Is he a little bit lightweight in the challenges he's coming up against? And they're the things that over the space of this season, we will really get to actually have a much better idea of where he's at.
Yeah.
But I think he's going to have a decent run in the side. He's not been outrageously bad. Do you know what I mean? So.
No, the thing is as well, I mean, we have got some choice out there, but he is of that kind of style of player. You've obviously got Tanto, who I think potentially you could see that as maybe an option there.
Yeah.
But I think he does still offer something there. I just don't know. He's got, I think this season, a pretty important one for him to prove.
It's a big year for him.
Yeah, is it going to be the future for him here, or is it something that maybe he is going to have to go back down to League One to maybe in years to come back up? But is he going to do that journey with us?
I'm excited to see where he can go this year, and I really hope that his performances just go up and up and up, and we see him really sort of flourish.
Yeah,
but let's see.
No, I think we all do. So, final one of the starting lineup. So as we said earlier, the only change to the starting lineup, Lee Byrne in for Kelman. I thought Lee Byrne had an incredibly good first half. I thought he was causing problems. I thought he brought more to the game than what maybe Kelman was in the first few. And I think he kind of went on from where he had been in previous games and just coming on as sub and everything we said earlier. The only thing is I think he clearly is still maybe getting up to speed with the fitness side of things. And
big,
I thought, second half, he probably got to about 60 minutes or so, and he looked absolutely gassed. He hardly could run for the ball.
Yeah, that's one of the things you'll get with him naturally anyway, because of his physique and because
you see it with Chucks, didn't you?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're that size, he's 6'6".
Yeah.
I can't believe. Like, I looked that up the other day. That's a big boy for a professional footballer. But when you're that size and you're running hard, because Jones again will demand from his strikers to press at the front. When it hits the 60, 70 minute mark, they're going to be pretty knackered, and that's maybe where sometimes Jones needs to just be a bit more reactive with that especially changing it maybe at the top of the pitch. But what I love about Lee Byrne is that for his size, he is so good with his feet.
He loves little like chops.
Yeah, he's skillful, but for a man of that size, it's dangerous because he's got a powerful shot on him as well, and obviously he's always going to be a threat in the air as well. So he's got a sort of a real arsenal in terms of what he can bring to the team.
No, definitely. And as I say, I think he did himself no harm in that game, and I think I think it's really exciting. As I say, I think we've discussed it so many times, but that depth in that kind of striker role, what we've got, and also I think the different dynamics of players. The fact you have got a Kelman who's a bit more of a play off the last man. You've got, I think Lee Byrne is a bit of a hybrid of a few, but he's a bit more kind of the physical side. He's got that trickery. He will run in behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought once again, as I say, was very little to look at negatively, and I think he may be. It's a really interesting one. I think
We could have scored. He could have scored.
Yeah,
he had that the header where it went down the keeper's throat in the end, but it was from 5 yards out.
Yeah,
and if he had have just got it left or right hand side of the keeper, he would have got a goal.
Yeah,
so.
And I think that's an interesting one in the coming weeks as to how that kind of plays out, because I think the difficulty is I want to see quite a lot of him this season because I think he's got a lot to offer in the Championship. I think I will find it interesting this year because of the money we've spent on Kelman. He surely is going to be a starting number one, kind of number 9, isn't he?
Who, Kelman?
Yeah.
I mean, Kelman, like you say, we spent $3.5 million apparently rumoured around that amount. Yeah, Kelman's definitely going to get a lot of game time, but I think Jones is wily enough to know that there's certain games that are going to suit Lieburn, certain games that are going to suit Kelman, and don't forget we've got Godden to come back as well. So it becomes really quite tricky to actually work out who's going to start, because also when Godden comes back, he's a player that's proven at that level. I know he dropped down to League One, but I think he only did that because he really wanted to come to Charlton.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he's going to be. Godden is a player that will score goals in the Championship still because the type of player he is. So you've got a really
forget, didn't you?
Yeah, you do. That's what I mean. Like he's obviously recovering from surgery, but he's going to be back. And when he is, we're going to have 3. If you class Tanto, then 4 really good, high quality sort of threats, strikers. That is a bit of a headache for Jones in a way, but it's a nice one to have because you can, like I say, I think he'll tailor it to the sort of games that we're going to come up against. QPR will be another interesting one because it's Kelman's old side, isn't it? So do you then put Kelman back in and say, right, go and show him why?
I think it could be the perfect game. So I think he seems to have a pretty arduous relationship, I think, with the QPR fans, and I think that could be the perfect one, fire and belly, to maybe kickstart his season.
Their fans were sort of saying, we've robbed Charlton because they've spent that, and then they've gone and got Kone in. So there's going to be interesting because there's going to be fire in a few bellies.
A Kelman 90th. Something like that. That'd be absolutely lovely. So that's going over the starting 11. Quickly go over the subs. I don't think the subs, in all honesty, there was a huge amount of change to the game from them personally. I thought no matter who came on, it was just kind of a bit. They weren't as tired, and they kind of carried on the role of whoever was there previously. I didn't feel like there was noticeable change.
But also because the players who were on the pitch were doing such a good job of pushing on, when the new players came on, it was just like you said, just carry it on.
Well, and I think they did. When you look over the subs, obviously you had Kelman, so Kelman coming on, Nibs, Rankin, Costello, Alaf, and Gillespie coming on. I thought
standouts were there.
No, and I think it's one. Obviously, normally we will go over them individually, but I have to admit, when I look over it, it just didn't.
No, I think
make a huge difference. But they did carry it on very well. That's one thing I will say.
Yeah,
I think I'd like to. One of the questions, obviously, we're going to be going on to later is a reason we haven't discussed it. But I think one of the things is some of them it would be nicer to see earlier points in the game.
Kelman's the one that came on and. Although he didn't actually have any big chances himself, he ran the ball up the pitch a few times, a couple of misplaced passes, which is unfortunate. But he was one that is dangerous when he gets the ball at his feet. He can push the ball forwards, which is quite good to see. And Nibs always looks quite threatening when he's on because he's quite a stature, isn't he? Do you know what I mean?
He's also one of those players who is that kind of a bit more special talent.
You're waiting for him to do something.
He could just come up and do something right. So in this game, no, he didn't. I thought Tanto as well. Once again, didn't really. There wasn't much to show for it, but still, I'd love to see. I really, really would love to see with him a starting 11 at some point soon.
Yeah,
and I think maybe. Personally, to me, maybe for TC in the next game could be quite a good shout.
I think you're right. I think that position of TC for Tanto will come in if we see a few more sort of mediocre performances from Campbell.
I think it would be quite an exciting one because I think with a lot of these subs, it's very difficult to completely judge till they do.
They need some minutes
fitness and they cement a kind of space in. I think it'll be very interesting with that. So we're gonna now go on to. I think the format in which we're going to do is we've had quite a few questions that have come in. So we're just going to kind of handpick a few of the questions that have come through just to have a bit of a more in-depth discussion. That is also sometimes why when we are overviewing the game as well, we don't discuss certain points because they might be coming up as a slightly more detailed one now. So over to you, Alex.
So we've had one come in, quite an interesting one actually. So we've been asked, why did Nathan leave it so late to make changes whilst we were dominating play? Side point, Campbell looked out of his depth. What's your thoughts?
For me, it was one thing that I was struggling with, and I thought it as well in the Bristol City game. It seems like Nathan at the moment wants to kind of leave players in, and I understand there is the argument of those players are playing very well, and as soon as you bring other players into that kind of setup, it might break a bit of the rhythm. But I thought, for example, TC looked absolutely gassed at one point, like his just legs weren't going anymore.
Well, he actually went down with cramp.
Yeah, and I thought Leeburn as well, the exact same. And I think we've got such talent on the bench. If I am going to bring any negatives, and I think I've tried to stay away from it in this game because I do think there's very little that I can criticise. But I think when a game was there for the taking, I just felt that could be the difference. And even when we went 1-0 down, that could make the difference of just tired legs on their side. And you have got players like Tanto could come on. And I do struggle with how late the subs have been.
What were the minute? When were the changes? Because I can't really fully. It was quite fairly late on.
Yeah, I think your first one was around the 75th minute, and I think then they went in, and you had some that were kind of 85th minute.
It's quite funny. You get some managers who are like religiously on the 60-minute mark. Right, I'm going to bring a few players on.
And that's when I first noticed Leeburn's legs looked like he just looked knackered.
Yeah,
like he was running in like lead feet. And I just thought at that point that would make a bit of a difference.
The one thing though, I guess, if you're a manager and you're really, really pushing on and you're looking like you're going to score. I mean, we had a period of play where we probably had about 3 or 4 really solid chances in quite a short space of time. Now, the only danger of making a change is, okay, we'll make the change and it could backfire. Do you know what I mean? Like it almost stalls that momentum you've got with the players that are on the pitch at the current time. The flip side of that is, like you said, you change it up when the players are getting a bit tired, and it just momentum pushes you on, and you actually got some fresh legs on that really sort of but create a more energetic threat up the pitch.
I'm also just not sure though with Nathan Jones whether he would think in that way, because I just think he has everyone, whether it's the subs or whether it's the starting 11, he wants everyone to buy into the same setup. And I'm not sure he would look at it and think these guys are going to come on and maybe not quite. They are going to change the way of fortune. The only thing I can think towards it is that he's wanting. It's almost like conditioning, and that he's wanting them to push into those later part of the games and still keep pushing through. And that's how he creates that kind of more what I suppose you deem like elite mindset.
Yeah,
pushing through. I do find it a bit strange. I think that game was screaming out for us to.
Yeah, I also think as well, maybe whoever he brings on, he's gonna all these players that he's willing to put on the pitch. He has faith in that they're going to do a good job. So he knows that if he brings a Tanto on, if he brings Kelman off the bench, that they're going to be just as much of a threat as the players that are currently on the pitch. So then it comes down to, okay, am I willing to sort of make that change and sort of risk changing the flow of the game? Because some players do take a little bit of time to get up to speed when they come on. So that could have been...
but then that's why I worry, and sometimes why even today, why we haven't really judged the subs too much, is because equally as well, they're not impacting the game as much.
Yeah, okay.
And you think if you bring them on in the 60th, yes, you might lose a bit of the rhythm of the game for 10 minutes while they get up to speed. But then you could really kick on, and with that fresh approach, kind of.
See, as fans, you can sort of you can't have it both ways. If you make the changes and the game changes the flow of the game, you then end up criticising the manager for changing a working team. And then the flip side is, okay, you bring someone on and they get the winner, which is what happened with Nibs in the Watford game. So, yeah, you can go one or two ways. So I think he's probably trying to assess the game as it plays out. But you are definitely right with a couple of those, like Leeburn and Campbell. They looked tired way before the changes were made.
And that's my only... Yeah. It reminds me... It brings back really dark memories of when Gareth Southgate used to do it for England.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was.
They have their faithful sort of players.
Yeah, and it was just like almost like carry on. But let's see. Look, hopefully, the one thing I will say is I have complete faith in Nathan Jones approach. It's frustrating, but I think as long as it doesn't become a consistent issue, I look at it and think, okay, mate, it is what it is. I personally would have made changes sooner, but
yeah, you can't criticise it too much.
Not too much. No.
Also, just the other second part of that question was Campbell being out of his depth. What were your thoughts? I mean, I know we've talked about him already.
I think covering over what we said, I think there is potential that is the case.
I definitely I understand why that's been said, because I think out of his depth might be a bit strong, but I would say definitely struggling at times is definitely fair.
Yeah, and I think I think we've probably covered over most of it, but I think he's got to really step that side up. And the thing is, we have seen it before. He has done that step up. There was that summer where apparently he was in the gym loads and he came back and he looked like a real threat over pre-season. He bulked up. That might have even been last season.
It was. Yeah.
So there is a player there who obviously does have a mentality that could push through. My worry is it on anything other than maybe the technical side and how far can you push that? As I say, I think it'll be a really interesting season. I don't quite think he's out his depth, but there's definitely question
whether he's got
marks.
A ceiling, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that would be my biggest concern is that, I suppose you could argue that he's out of depth, but is his ceiling, are we getting towards where the height of his ceiling is, or have we already gone past that? As I say, I think time will tell. Really important season.
That's one that actually a whole season in that division will answer that question naturally for us anyway.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's going to be to our detriment, because if we stick with him and he is struggling, like you said, we'll probably be looking at options in the next window if that's the case.
No, definitely. And I think so going on to the second question we had, what were your thoughts on the Lloyd Jones disallowed goal?
So I've seen it back. I watched the highlights a couple of times after the game finished, and Edwards has his arm across the defender, and what you get in almost every game nowadays is if any defender sees an arm come across them or they feel any sort of contact, down they go, and the referee 9 times out of 10 will blow the whistle. It happened to be that the ref blew the whistle and obviously Jones put the ball in the back of the net. So I'm not one. I don't like it when referees give petty fouls every 2 minutes, and
he was a ref who was doing that.
And you get those referees that just, there's quite a few. There was one during the game actually. Edwards sort of won the ball back, and their player just hit the floor because there was a little bit of contact, went down. Referee blew his whistle straight away, and I remember the commentators at the time saying that's never been a foul. So if you get a referee that's very sort of whistle happy, any sort of contact in the box, especially at a corner, because they see it as a chance to just let's reset the game, gets rid of the controversy. So that's what I think the referee was thinking was, there's been contact, I'm going to blow my whistle.
Yeah, and I kind of, when I look back on it, I don't agree with the fact it was disallowed. I don't think it should have been. I can see the argument that's there, and if it was the other way around, and if we're the team on the other end of that, we'd probably all be standing here screaming, going, look, he had his arms all over him. And I kind of then look at it and think, I don't think it was a foul.
He's gone down really easily, but they give those fouls all the time from corners. So to have one against you is sort of, you're expecting it in a way.
Yeah. As I say, I'm frustrated, but there's a lot more clear-cut ones where I'd be absolutely furious saying there's...
Yeah, I after it happened, I wasn't like, oh, we've been robbed. I didn't feel that way.
No, I kind of felt, I sat more on this side, but I can see how some people would look at it that way, and I think, it was it was the kind of ref he was, and that's how it comes down to. So, I think to kind of wrap up on this episode, we are going to look ahead just briefly to the next game against QPR. I think there's a game there that seems like it's there for the taking with their result at the weekend.
The only danger with a team that's just taken an absolute hiding is they will want a response from that. So I saw their manager already has come out and said this will be you'll see a completely different side against Charlton. So already, but then can we not use that as fuel to say, okay, well, we'll show you we can just be just as strong as Coventry can against you. So it's an away game, which always makes it a bit more tricky. I know we always sell out at QPR. Pretty much we do every away game, to be fair, but QPR is always quite a nice spicy one as well because it's a London game. You've got the added element of Kelman coming in from QPR. They brought Kone in, who's dangerous. I saw he did actually he got the 1 goal for QPR at the weekend late on. But we're coming off the back of another really good performance. So, again, it's another one. It's Championship football. You don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, and as you say, I think it's a dangerous one. Whenever a team comes off the back of a hiding, you think, okay, are they going to come back and now really want to kind of make up for that?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not as easy as that, because the reason they got hiding is because there is some issues there.
Yeah.
And
it's another new manager as well.
Yeah. And we saw, as I say, last season we had a few times where we did, and then the next we'd go on this amazing run. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but I think it's probably the first game we've got going into. I thought the Watford game, relatively unknown. Bristol City away, really tough game. Leicester, really tough game. That's probably the first one I'm going into now with having a bit of a knowledge as to how a team's performing, where I'm going in thinking, okay, this is our chance now to kind of really solidify that start to the season. I think if we can pick up all 3 points, which is where I would hope we are going to go, I think it would then really consolidate that start of the season being a really positive one. I think if we go there and we do come away kind of having lost, for example, I think it maybe take a bit of the shine off that start of the season.
It's also the first game I would say I'm looking at and I'm thinking like we really could get a 3 points, because we got the 3 against Watford, but that game, like you said, it was an opener. It was
a relatively unknown.
Yeah, it's a really and also it's our first game in the Championship for a long time. We've had the 3 games to see how well we're playing, and I'm going into this this game against QPR thinking, we can 100% come away with 3 points from this one. So I'm really excited by it. London games are always good. And again, I'm just excited to see how all of those players who we've already said are performing so well can carry that form on.
No, definitely. And I say it'll be a really interesting game. I can't wait.
I really want Kelman to score as well.
I want nothing more, because their fans, the way they were on Twitter and everything, I just think they were. It's so set up for him just to score a goal.
Yeah, it's one of those that would just be a really poetic sort of. I'm really hopeful that he'll, and even if he doesn't start, it might be even nicer if he comes off the bench and scores. Do you know what I mean? So,
no, it'd be lovely. Well, I think that's really where we're going to wrap up the episode. Throughout the video, we will have left the socials down at the bottom, where you can send in any of your questions to us for next week's episode. Hopefully, we'll be discussing off the back of another 3 points in the QPR game. And we'll see you on the next one.